quick. Thought I'd do a quick live. I've been watching the news like everybody else, and then I've been looking on the internet like everybody else. And I may have found a few things that everybody else hasn't seen. So, welcome. Come on in and see what's popping. So, I'll get into it in a second, but there are actually bigger problems with what all Russia's up to. There's bigger problems than just Ukraine. There's bigger problems than anywhere over in that area. So just know this. I'll get into some bigger problems. They're looking to test outside of Norway, and then later, if they haven't already tried to, Russia's looking to park the largest weapon known to man off the East Coast. They're looking to park about 15 of them. They're making a total of 30. It's called a cobalt, C-O-B-A-L-T, nuclear weapon. It's bigger than the Tsar Bomba. It's being downplayed. It's not 100 megatons, it's 200 megatons, and it will cause a tsunami that doesn't just go taller than any building in New York, with the exception of Trade One building. It will also send a wave to England and flooding there, because it goes both ways. If it's an ocean, think of it like a big bathtub. We're on the other side of the pond of some really good people that will also be affected by nuclear laden water. And after this, you won't be able to inhabit that area for decades. It's called the Poseidon. I spoke about this before. They have now, since they're out of that arms treaty, went a little crazy, and they also admitted to stuff they had already. I mean, when they annexed Crimea, or even when they gave Ukraine their autonomous countryhood, Ukraine said, well, we've got a problem. We got 5,000 nuclear weapons we don't know what to do with. So Russia said, okay, tell you what, we will take those off your hands, and we promise never to attack you. Well, you see where that went. They attacked anyways. So, before I go too deep into the Poseidon thing, but you can look it up. There's and that guy's gonna be famous. There is a base. If you're looking north and the northeast, there are several bases that they're putting up there, off the, the Arctic shelf they have up there. But the one that houses these Poseidon missiles, and they're also mounted on those 3 nuclear subs that broke through the surface at the same time. They made a big deal out of it. They're on those subs also, already loaded. So, not to say we're surrounded, but we kind of are. If you look at, they go through the Panama Canal all the time. They go to the West Coast and they go to the East Coast. So now they're going above Canada, which is a little above our head. With the bases that they've been working on for a long time, but the one in particular one base that is probably our greatest threat is going to be the housing or home place of these Poseidon missiles. Now, if you look at New York and Maine and all that, and you go up that coast, and you keep going, and you go past Canada, and you wind up hitting Russia, that's the area of the base. And they've already said that they believe they are stealth and that they can get past our defenses. So we don't know. They could have already parked one out there already. But it's the Poseidon. It has explosive power that's it's a 200 megaton cobalt nuclear warhead, because you have the hydrogen bomb that they went to. They tried to see what happens. Okay, what happens when you split hydrogen? It makes a big explosion. What happens when you split plutonium? It makes an even bigger explosion. They kept going. Cobalt is bigger than the Tsar Bomba, TS or TZ, either way, AR BOMBA, the greatest one ever exploded, and that was just a test in Russia. So the plan is it doesn't even have to surface, and it can go deeper than anything we have. They could have already parked 3 or 4 of them off the East Coast already. They say they're in their testing phase, but they're already loaded up into the subs, and they may test a smaller amount of nuclear material in one, but it's going to cause ecological disaster off the coast of Norway when they do. They're saying that's for this summer. What they're doing already, though, is they've already made 30 of them. 15 of them are to their south and east. They're going to be transferred out there. And then 15 of them are split up between the 3 nuclear subs that are up there and also that building up there that can just chunk them out. So did they already fire a nuclear missile at the US? That's the question. And they could have. It's very slow moving, so it's not detected. There's no people on it, so it's not a ship, it's a missile. And it can go down and just sink and sit there until they call it up. So it can just sit there for 30 or 50 years, or how it doesn't need any maintenance. It just sits there. It's nuclear powered, and it's made to blow a tsunami taller than all of the largest buildings in New York, in for miles, and decimate. And it's also nuclear laden, so if you are not killed by the wave, you'll be killed by the wave because it will give you cancer. And it could be a short-lived event, like where if you're radiated, it could just be like a few days. Biggest nuclear bomb ever engineered or made to make a nuclear-laden tsunami. Now, well, there's that. So let's talk about what's going on right now, because they're saying, Russia's said to pull out. Let me tell you what the general actually said. What he said was this. He gave orders that all of the Russian troops that were sent there on military exercises for what they were supposed to do will be recalled to their bases. What he did not say was that a whole regiment of airborne are actually going to set up shop, and their new base is Crimea. You see, there's a difference. If he says we're bringing everybody back to their respective bases, no. And not only are they staying there for good, but they've been supplying. When they went down there, the whole thing was to supply, and more sniper fire went across, and more people were killed since they did that little thing than in the past year or any time last year. And so they know that they are aiding the people who are the little green men, if you call them that, who are still attacking any type of Ukrainian national forces. So, like the ones that tried to hold the airport, like the ones I put up on that playlist. I want to say it was 98th Brigade. So, yeah, a lot more people have died. Tens of thousands are dying that are even civilians from the shelling and stuff. There's still been mortar fire going back and forth. The ceasefire has been broken by both sides. Of course, when Russia fires, they're going to fire back, so it's broken by both sides. And so it's good that we didn't send any ships there, because Russia's electronic warfare is off the hook. They can turn stuff off. They've turned off airplanes and helicopters. They completely, their idea of jamming on the battlefield is nobody gets comms. We shut it all down. That's their idea. So not only us or anyone else that's their adversary, but they don't even get to communicate because they jam the entire frequency spectrum. I don't know from what to what. I don't know if they, I don't think they jam heat. I don't think they jam microwaves, but they definitely jam everything below it all the way down to, you know, ultra low frequency. So ultra high frequency, UHF, is what they're on. They can jam the spectrum, and they have drones that they can fly over country, 2 of them, and they're friends, if you call it this. Not friends of you and me, they're friends of each other. They will fly these 2 drones, and they can take out your cell phone communications, and you won't even know it. You'll think you're still on the same network, whatever, and then they can even send messages to your phone or even video to your phone, and say, you know, this is this. Once they get to spoofing news, that would be kind of crazy, right? When they can do that, just send it to your phone. But yeah, this is why I said we need comms. Now there is simplex. I'm talking about, though, we need a net. So understand, if you're talking CB radio, this is what I'm talking about. CB radio has channel 9. There's a switch on your radio, most of them, that people used to monitor. The police used to monitor channel 9. And if you had an emergency, even if you're not a truck driver, just a person, you could switch to channel 9 and key up and say, you need help, and I'm on channel 9, I need help. And someone would answer you, likely a police officer. Now, if you're just talking on channel 9, even now it's taboo. That's the 1 out of the 40 you don't touch, because it's still kind of, we reserve it, and we're like, if they ever have an emergency, they need that free. Don't ever talk on channel 9. Well, simplex on ham, it works the same way. 2 meter has a simplex channel. 5 meter has simplex channel. 10 meter has a simplex channel. I was talking about, though, people getting together on a regular channel, setting up a net, like a weather net, to alert in the event that you see planes flying over your head. Hey, look, I'm a spotter. I see this, and this is what I'm supposed to look for. Now, in the event of emergency, you can actually go further, and you can become a person that helps the military. But even if you're on ham and there's no communications, and they'll turn on all bands too. So even if you had a cell phone that didn't work and wasn't paid, it doesn't matter if you paid a bill or not, you could, in the event of an emergency like a hurricane, they turn those on. So you could just turn it on. It'll work. Even old bag phones, believe it or not. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's got an old bag phone that was like it wasn't even a bag. It was like the handset, the brick. One of the first cell phones, and it worked. So that will be turned on in the event of emergency. But so back to this, yeah, Russia has not left. They're not leaving. They will be pulling out most of those troops, but they will say, oh, we might leave a little contingent behind, and that will be to support the whole base that they just created for paratroopers that they had coming in there. So it's going to be a whole new base down there, and they're not going. You can expect for them to go for the water. This is what was talked about in the news. Oh, our next war will be over water. That's what she was talking about. She was talking over your heads. It's to let people know, yeah, if it pops out, yeah, well, we will go to war over the water. Well, it's kind of like that. Here's the thing. Crimea, before Russia took it over, annexed it, was a part of Ukraine. Ukraine got a river that came out of Russia down to it and made a way for those people to have water. They built a water canal. Okay, that was good till Russia took Crimea, and then there was a war between them. They said, look, it's the oldest Roman tactic in the book. I mean, even oldest tactic, the Romans did it. I even said this in a video a long time ago. Who knew that was going to happen, right? Crimea River. Well, so what happened was this. Ukraine cut off the water supply to Crimea. They've been slowly drying up. Yeah, you're welcome. So they've been drying up, and now they have got to get those people water. They're trying to drill wells, and they're coming up dry. So they're trying to get those people water, and they're going to have to, if they're going to keep Crimea and keep people there. They're either going to have a bunch of tankers from Russia, or build a new maybe a new waterway off the river that goes all the way down there, or the easiest way, and what they're going to have to do, and what Russia, look for this in the news, this will happen, that's why they're there, and don't expect it till well, they may try it in the meantime, but a full invasion, they'll be in their September. They like to do true exercises in September, so that's why this was odd. Anyways, they're setting up for it. They're seeing how long it'd take to get down there. Hey, let's see how long, and do some other things, and throw some snipers in the mix, and get some people across the border, and try to take out, what they can covertly, Green Man style. Okay. Expect them, though, because what Ukraine did was, first, they built a sandbag. They shut the door to the levee. This is big drop down door that stops water, and then they built a dam. And they built it out of sandbags. Then they built one out of concrete. So I don't think that Russia is going to blow the dam. That would be one thing they could do. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to take over the whole strip of land that goes over to it. I think they're just going to so-called annex. I think they're going to invade and take that land. And no one is going to stop them short of war, and a war won't stop. They're going to do it. They are going to do this. So look for that to happen. This is absolutely their game plan. That's the whole reason they went down there. They need that water. They're getting that water. They're going to take that water. Now, they don't really care so much. And you can see with all they even brought nuclear weapons down there. They brought missiles, batteries, of missiles down there. And it's reported that they had tactical nuclear weapons that they brought down there with them too. So they were ready for something if it might happen. And with all their EW, or electronic warfare jamming, that they have, it's not like they have a problem seeing the enemy as far as radar and this kind of thing. They don't have a problem killing it though. And so they had those people pinned down in a freaking airport, and they blew out one level, they blew out another level, and they those people were fighting valiantly. They did their job, trying to defend Ukraine against an aggressor. However, they had already been whittled down by the government that they believe was pro-Russian in the first place, and that's why their army was so small in the first place. They can't get EU partnership yet because they have disputed territories, and that's with Russia, and so they'd have to get that undisputed, which can't happen. And Russia doesn't want them to be a member of EU, because then the EU is all the way up to Russia's border, and they feel so-called threatened by it or whatever. Even though they brought their troops to the border, they didn't seem to feel so threatened when they did that. So that's like a little hypocritical on their part. So what we're looking at is, it's good that we did not send ships down there. It's good that, because that would have been seen as an escalation. Plus, they have these new hyperballistic missiles that could be shot over, up, and down, and might be a problem for us. We can handle some things, but it's never good to put yourself in a dangerous situation. Anyways, it's smart that we didn't send ships down there. But for them to say, oh, well, Russia's pulling out, not so much. That's not what he said. What he said was, the ones that are down there for training exercises will be returning to their bases. He did not mention they built a whole new base down there that a lot of them are going to be going to all the time. So, and they built a whole bridge, this beautiful span bridge. They're not giving up on Crimea or the water to supply it that they need from Ukraine. They're not. They're heavily invested. That bridge is phenomenally huge. Looks like the Golden Gate or something. And not sure the span, but it's a cable suspension bridge, and it's modern, and they built it, and it's strong enough to hold up tanks. So when you look at it, they're shelling people's houses. There's people there that are walking, even to walk to their garden. They don't work anymore. They're struggling for food. They have people bring them food from the Red Cross, this and that, and things they could use. And multiple families living in single houses, and everybody's shell shocked over the whole thing, and they go outside to a garden, and they're like, well, I might get shot today from sniper fire, or even from stray bullets from regular fire. They hear firing all around them all the time. It's not a good living situation. It's not cool. Those people really wish they could leave, you know. And Russia has a tactic, though. I'm going to talk a few of their tactics here real quick, in case the event happens where you ever have to see this firsthand like they did. The soldiers were telling, one thing was, they start shelling from tanks and shooting mortars at about 5 a.m. They want to keep you up from 5 a.m. to whatever time. And then at nighttime is when they have people come out and snipers and they do raids and stuff. So they work it in 2 shifts. They keep you up all day, then you're tired. Then they have a nighttime shift to come, and they also, like, you know, they have some like RPGs and stuff like that. The other thing is, they said that they made a deal with them to come and talk to them, and then they wound up taking them captive anyways. And Russia actually had a bunch of Ukrainian soldiers. They took 150 of them captive, and then they thought, oh, okay, well, we're going to go to prison or this, that, or... And they started opening up with basically shooting missiles at them. And these people started running into the woods. There's 50 people left of those 150 that didn't die that day. And then after they watched the tanks go by, they snuck around and got back into the town. And everyone that they killed of the Russians, they had papers on them, showed that they were Russian, that they were, some of them were tankers and they lost their tank, you know, some of them were just, but they had regulars. They even showed the receipts of a Russian bank showing their check stubs, whatever, you know, they were Russian army regulars. Ukraine has proof of this. So the little green men were, you know, Russian regulars, and so were the ones after that. So it's kind of difficult, and they were fighting, and they were saying too, Russia were saying, look, if you'll give us our soldiers that are our dead back, we'll give you yours. When they received theirs back, Ukraine said that the bodies were washed and dressed. Sounds to me like they were trying to remove any of their bullets that might be proof that it was Russian hardware that killed them. So they probably went ahead and had surgery on them and everything else, like a post-mortem almost, autopsy, to only give back bodies and no proof that they were killed by Russian soldiers. That's how deep it goes, how much they're trying to hide. So, and they were, at first, those other ones were not all that well trained, and then the second group and the ones now are regulars and they're well trained. And that's rough stuff for a small force in Ukraine just trying to defend their homeland. So they haven't left. They're still there. The big hoorah will probably happen September. I'm calling that now. And then they try to go after the water, but you know, that's why they were talking about a war over water. And that's the Vostok exercises that are in September, and they're not all going back now. The waves, by the way, if you want an exact number for the Poseidon, 500-meter high wave. So you know, that's the kind of devastation, and it's nuclear. That's not good. I wouldn't put it past. I mean, as soon as I fire it too, it's fired. But there's, oh, it's gonna, you know, swim around a little while, and it can do whatever. Well, technically, if you ask me, that means that they just fired a missile at us. But I don't know how we're going to perceive that. Are we then allowed to go into the water and take it out? Are we going to set up a net up around Maine and make sure they don't come down? What are we doing? That's the question. You know. But if you see a high water, you know, wave of water, it takes over and goes all the way across New York, from New York City, then you will know that that's what happened. You have a right to know that that's what happened. And at that point, we would be in a full-fledged war, and it would not be good, and look for more things to happen. and then look for the drones that may take out your cell phone service and replace it with something weird that gives you messages and garbage. So what happened was we and every other country found out that, of course, we already knew all of the Russian diplomats are, spies. So we kicked a bunch of them out of the U.S. for being part of the Solar Wind, which was a web computer hacking of major companies. That was so that they would know how to jam their systems also. Just like the ship that was off the East Coast was mapping the shoreline as it went down to Miami. That's exactly what it was doing. Maybe not for a landing as much as for a place to put those sub things, those Poseidon missiles. It's not a submarine. If it comes out of a submarine and it can blow up, that's a missile. So have they done that already? I don't know. But Russia expelled, well, first the Czechoslovakian, the Czech Republic, officials expelled 18 Russian diplomats over a situation they were linked to where a arms supply depot was blown up that was actually going to be giving arms to Ukraine. And then in return, Russia expelled 20 Czech diplomats from Russia as like a tit for tat kind of thing. I'll tell you, it's getting to be that Russia is so confident in their systems that they are flexing their muscles against the whole world. And for them to say that they want to have commerce and have a trade route, I think everybody needs to boycott that trade route that's up in the north where they're using icebreakers. Yes, it will save a bunch of money on fuel. Maybe it'll bring a bunch of economy to, Asia. But are they selling themselves out later? Because like if you don't stand up for others, you're next. That's like they say when they came for the Jews, they didn't stand up for them, and then they came for, So is he going to try to dominate the world? Well, if his idea is having military superiority and then using it to say you will only trade with us, I'll leave that up to you to decide. That's kind of what Hitler was doing. It kind of is. And these are the same people that killed all their farmers because they were jealous at a time when there was poverty that the farmers were doing okay because they grew their own food. So they murdered them and they took all of their stores of grain. This is, way back when, but that's what they did. So you can't put anything past them. They poison everybody to get them, all of their political rivals, this kind of thing. You just can't put anything past them. That's why they said they would like to meet with the leader of Ukraine in Russia. He just has to come to Russia. Well, that puts that guy in risk of death. He's not going to do that. It's kind of a threat when you offer something like that, not a welcome or a gift. Anybody has anything to say, I'm going to get off this thing. I'll check the comments real quick if it'll let me, because at this point I'm working this thing like this. My portrait ability to turn it sideways is out. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah. So I just see the one. Yeah, anybody wants to make a comment, go ahead, and I'm gonna get out of here. There's work to be done. There's much work to be done. And so yeah, the Poseidon, the new threat, our new threat. It's a cobalt bomb. They'll blow it up underwater. They don't even have to surface it. And it goes deeper than any of our normal subs. I ain't gonna say we don't have anything that go that deep, but yeah, it's kind of bad. They're supposed to, they say they're going to test it off Norway. They've already tested it. They know what it'll do. And they've already fired them, I guess you'd say, because I've seen video of them coming out of the tubes of a building So it's my understanding they don't even have to be fired from subs. They were in the 3 subs that were up that simultaneously came out of the ice, but they're also in this building up there. In the, well, off our east coast, if you go north and past Canada. The name of that place, I wrote it down simply because, hey, I'm not from there. But their home base is Olenia Guba. So that's where only 15 of them are going there. They're making a total of 30. That's all they need. They really only need 1. But 15 are going to Olenia Guba, and the other 15 are going down to their southeastern area in the waters down there. And they go really super slow, and then they can shoot up to, I think it's 100 knots or 150 knots. They're not the kind that actually make a compression wave in front of them or whatever. It can go super fast, but they can go pretty fast, and it doesn't matter. They can blow up right where they're at. And as far as people saying, well, they would have to resurface to get more information from Russia or whatever, or send up a wire or something every so often, no, because it's not about changing coordinates. If you've already given it coordinates, you can send it there and it will sink and it will sit there for 50 years. So they will have cobalt bombs off the East Coast sitting there. They don't have to tell them anything until it's time to tell them to rise up and detonate. And they don't rise all the way up. They'll stay under the surface probably, I don't know how many feet it takes to create that wave, but it's not just us. So people in England too, the wave is going to be headed your way also. It's going to split the water. And it's going to send tsunamis both ways. Now, if it's 500 kilometers tall in New York, it might just be, 50 feet high waves going across London. But this still, too, could flood, and it's going to be laden with nuclear material really heavily because it's cobalt. Strange times we're in. That's what we have to worry about. So, I don't know if you feel people are familiar with the Navy map of the future coastline. It's been floating around the internet for a while. I never really referenced it because I didn't think it was really all that accurate completely. It just shows high, low elevation and who would be flooded in the event that the polar ice caps melted and all the water was over the United States in different places. But you might look at it now because they might be bringing the ocean to us. Good times. Everybody's got anything to say? Go ahead and say it. This is the part where you beat me up. And then I'm going to get off this thing. God bless you all, though. And hopefully they will never blow anything like that up. However, I think that we can't treat it as anything except for an already fired missile in our direction once it's out of the tube of the sub or out of the tube of the building. So I think we will have to find and destroy them. I don't think they can just be sitting out there like that. Too big of a weapon. Too close to our line. We do have the continental shelf. It's going to be, out there where legal vessels can be, but this is not a vessel. There's no people on it. It doesn't have a flag. It doesn't have a designation as a ship. It's just a missile. I think we need to treat it as such. Only it's the world's biggest bomb ever, bigger than the Tsar Bomba. Bigger than Mount Everest by about 10 times or so. It's big. The explosion would be huge. Hiroshima and Nagasaki are about like a grain of sand compared to someone having a 50-pound bag of sand. So it's just going to be the world's biggest explosion. And if it's blown underwater, and the ecological damage, there will be no fishing. There will be no more fish. Off the Atlantic, the nuclear fallout alone, but the explosion, the ocean will be red with fish on the surface. But the ocean will be above New York, above the tallest skyscraper, almost as tall as the New York Trade One building, just at the top of it. And it's going to come in and rush in, and the ocean will be behind it. It'll probably break half those buildings in half. It's not good. I don't think we can stand for it sitting out there. Anyways, people, you could chew on that for a while. Just know what's going on, and Russia has not left Ukraine. Even though they say they're going to bring back the soldiers that were deployed on exercises, it doesn't mean they're not going to leave the entire new base of paratroopers, and also as many as they want to, that they ordered to stay down there for good, even in their current position. And they brought tanks from as far as Siberia. For some reason, they recalled all those tanks. So, y'all have a good one. I'm going to get off this thing. That's all I got. I think it's enough. God bless you. You have a good one. I'm out. Peace.